In this video, we're going to go through our experiments that we did in class to understand the relationship between electricity and magnetism. Alright, the first experiment we did looked similar to this. It's a screwdriver, and there's a wire wrapped around it. I want you to pause this and discuss with a partner why we wrapped the wire around the screwdriver and what's going to happen when we hook up the battery to the wire, and try to explain why that's happening. Alright, so I have a paper clip and I have this screwdriver with a wire wrapped on it. I'll hook it up to a battery and let's see what happens. Not much is happening. It picks up the paperclip. Now, why does it pick up the paperclip? If I stop the flow of electricity, it drops the paperclip. We can't pick it up. What happens inside of the screwdriver? That's the important thing. What's happening inside of the screwdriver when that wire's wrapped around it and there's electricity flowing through there? Something happens inside of the screwdriver in order for it to be magnetized and allows it to pick up the paperclip. Here's the second experiment we did. We created the coil, took the coil, put it on top of a cup using magnets to help propel it. It spun when the electricity was flowing through the wires. This was the second experiment we saw, connection between electricity and magnetism. So again, pause this and think about what happened, try to talk about the relationship and understand that relationship between electricity and magnetism and how the two of them working together created the energy, which is the spinning coil. Another experiment we did was we replaced the copper wire with two wires electric taped together, and then we took the motor from the inside of the motor and we used that to spin, and that was spinning again when electricity was flowing through the wires, and we were using magnets underneath it, or we were holding them to make it spin. As you can see, it's spinning on its own, and the commutators, which is the copper, right, you can kind of see the copper, if I can focus it, they're touching the two wires, we call those brushes in this case, and it's able to spin. Again, how is that working? What's the relationship or the connection between electricity and magnetism? So again, pause this and talk about that with your partner. Alright, all the experiments we've looked at so far have shown electricity creating magnetism. And now we're going to look at the opposite, which is magnetism creates electricity. We're going to see it two different ways. The first way is where you did it in class, where you took the rubber band and you took the motor and you spun the motor, and that motor created electricity because of magnetism, and it lit the light bulb. So I will try to show you again how that worked, and you should be able to see. I'm going to take this motor and the shaft that's out, I'm going to spin, and that's spinning motion as the motor inside rotating between two permanent magnets, and because of that it should light the light bulb for a short period of time, like an instant. So maybe you can see it if it's bright enough. And talking about connecting, we have the force of friction with the rubber band, and that's why we're able to make it work with that. So again, let's talk about that with your partner. How is that working? What's the connection again between electricity and magnetism? Here's the second way that we're going to see magnetism create electricity. This is called a motor generator because it can be used two different ways. It can be used as a motor and it can be used as a generator. If we used it as a motor, what we would do, I'm going to turn this around, we would hook up wires to these two leads right here, the black one and the maroon one, and we would hook it up to a battery, and if this was working, with the magnet on top, this electromagnet, as it spun, it would be spinning because of the whole idea we just talked about with the first three, where electricity from the battery is creating magnetism, and the magnets are working very much like the spinning coil. But if we use it as a generator, what we're going to do, again, if it worked, is we would spin this crank right here, and that crank would then spin this two electromagnets. The electromagnets would spin. Okay, as they were spinning, they're cutting through this magnetic field right here. All right, and as that does that, it creates electricity. So the spinning motion and the magnetism is creating electricity. So as this was spinning, it would create electricity, and if we got it going fast enough, we'd put two leads in here with a bulb, and that bulb would light up. So again, pause the video, explain in your own words the relationship between magnetism and electricity and how the whole thing comes together.